Welcome to the Fast Food Legend podcast. My name is Sam, and every week I will be sharing with you my latest essays about fast food. There is a brief silence between each essay. If you like my podcast, please subscribe, like, and most importantly, share it with someone else you think would like it. Thank you for your continued support of my work. Here is today's episode. The first piece I would like to discuss is this cheddar-loaded cheeseburger combo from Jack in the Box. This is not merely an advertisement. It is a fresco of contemporary delirium, framed within the postmodern portal of a drive-thru window. The Jack in the Box cheddar-loaded poster clings to the glass, like an icon in a roadside chapel, and its layered excess, bun, lettuce, tomato, patty, cheese bun, fries, soda, forms a stratigraphy of yearning, each layer a sediment of late-day cravings, of unmet ambitions, of lunch break existentialism. The cheddar cheese bun is the keystone, not an ingredient, but an epistemological rupture, bread made of cheese, and a Ouroboros of dairy-based desire. It echoes the looping self-reference of Rohrwolf's cut-up radio collages, where form folds back into content until neither is distinguishable. Here the bun becomes the meal's thesis and its punchline. The typography is a psychological case study. Loaded in urgent uppercase orange, vibrating with suggestion, saturated, overstuffed, burdened. It is not merely the burger that is loaded, but the viewer, loaded with decision fatigue, glycemic dread, and a vague but persistent feeling of debt. The smiley face embedded in the O smirks knowingly, like a trickster god drawn by a third-rate Paul Klee imitator. It knows what it's done. It's too late now. Beside the sandwich, a glass of Dr. Pepper looms like a chalice. It gleams under studio lights, a carbonated relic. This is not refreshment. This is baptism. To sip is to enter the covenant. The fries, meanwhile, sprawl in disarray, as if dumped unceremoniously by a disillusioned Brian Geisen. They don't want to be there, but they are. From a psychological lens, this meal is a symptom, perhaps of binge-eating disorder, perhaps of unresolved oral fixation, or simply a craving for boundaries in a world increasingly defined by permeability. The cheddar cheese bun blurs the lines between categories. The combo itself is a gentle cry for parental structure, for someone to say, "This is your meal and no more." The entire composition radiates the anxious excess of a world in which enough is never enough. The price, $5.99, hums with that familiar market irrationality. Too expensive to feel cheap, too cheap to feel luxurious. It exists in that liminal space where we justify a loss of control with the promise of value. This poster does not sell food. It sells the illusion of completion. And you don't want a burger. You want permission to rest. The next piece we will discuss is Subway's Footlong Doritos Nachos. The term Footlong Nachos opens a temporal rift. The phrase collapses spatial logic, a length, into a snack traditionally measured by volume. What is the ontology of a nacho that stretches 12 inches in a line? Is it still a nacho? Or has it crossed over into architectural gesture, a horizontal sprawl of cheese logic and tortilla geometry? Subway's choice to partner with Doritos, rather than rely on their own proprietary chips, externalizes their anxiety. Doritos carry an aura, an alchemical blend of MSG, orange dust, and 1990s skateboarding commercials. It's branding as seasoning. We are not just eating chips. We are summoning a mood board. The visual composition is baroque. Jalapenos, red onions, tomatoes, and globs of yellow cheese cascade across the frame in a frenzy of color and texture. This is not a meal. It is an explosion. One can almost hear the imagined crunch, a percussive punctuation in the theater of overstimulation. The cheese is not melted, but rather drizzled with the urgency of a Jackson Pollock tribute executed in nacho cheese. Psychologically, the footlong nacho embodies unresolved identity diffusion. It cannot decide what it wants to be, a side, a main, a taco reinterpreted through dreams of lasagna. It is an edible hallucination, teetering on the edge of disintegration, much like the psyche of a subject trapped in a hyper-real feedback loop of fast casual options. The meal evokes derealization. Nothing here feels fully real, and yet it is happening. Obscure reference? Look to the Romanian surrealist Gheta Bratescu, whose work often used the line as a metaphor for containment, traversal, and existential delimitation. The Footlong presentation becomes a performative path, a linear invitation to engage with chaos 1 inch at a time. Or consider the lapsed architectural dreams of Italian radicals like Archizoom. No Stop City, reimagined as No Stop Chip, a continuous urban fabric of processed maize. The $5 price point is both nostalgic and sinister. It recalls Subway's original marketing gambit, the $5 footlong, which once symbolized value, simplicity, and mild civic joy. Here, the same figure reappears like a ghost, tethering us to an economy that no longer exists. The nachos become elegiac, a crunchy requiem for affordable abundance. What are we to make of this? To eat the footlong nacho is not to consume a product, but to perform an act of metaphysical negotiation. It is an indulgence and a warning, a pleasure and a dare. It invites us not to nourish, but to contemplate the fragile border between novelty and nihilism. At $5, it's almost worth the existential spiral. I brought home a peanut butter and jelly sandwich from 7-Eleven, and I didn't eat it. I looked at it, and the longer I looked, the more I realized. This is a surprisingly rich object to study. It's not just a snack. It's a designed experience. And in this video, I want to explain why. There are 3 reasons this sandwich is worth a closer look. First, the structure. It's crustless, diagonally sliced, sealed in clear plastic, but arranged with near-perfect symmetry. It's rectangular, neutral, and repetitive. And those formal choices aren't accidental. They mirror the minimalist design language we see in contemporary art. Think of artists like Joe Bear, whose paintings are all edge, restraint, and control. The sandwich, like Bear's work, uses geometry to create order. There's a reason it feels sterile. It's not chaotic. It's quiet, almost architectural. Second, the materials. Peanut butter and jelly might seem simple, but they're culturally loaded. Peanut butter rose to prominence in the early 20th century through military rations and school lunches. Jelly extends shelf life. Together they became a symbol of consistency, not just taste-wise, but emotionally. The sandwich you ate at 5 is still the sandwich you can buy at 25. When wrapped and stored like this, it's almost a time capsule. A preserved slice of childhood engineered for the adult world. But the third and maybe most interesting layer is the label design. Look at it closely. Sans serif type, centered lines, black text on white. There's no personality, no branding beyond the tiny 7-Eleven logo. And the language? It's not creative. It's declarative. Peanut butter and strawberry jelly sandwich. That's it. Capitalized like a title. Beneath it, keep refrigerated. Then a barcode, a price, a weight. It reads more like a museum object tag than a piece of packaging. That's the point. This label doesn't sell. It catalogs. It doesn't entice. It instructs. And that's what makes the sandwich fascinating. It's a lesson in how design communicates values, clarity, uniformity, legibility. It's made to be legible in motion, under fluorescent light, for someone making a decision in 2 seconds or less. Every element, from the typeface to the transparency of the plastic, supports that. So next time you see something that looks totally ordinary, whether it's a sandwich, a receipt, or a restroom sign, stop. Look at the structure. Look at the materials. Look at the language. Because design is never neutral. It's always telling you something. Let me know if this changed how you see it, and if it didn't, look again. This Burger King sign, flanked by artificial stonework and hedged in precisely manicured shrubbery, announces with monolithic clarity, DoorDash and Uber Eats, a declaration of utility, perhaps, but also, in its stark triadic cadence, a whisper of something more profound. The sign doesn't merely inform, it presides, and it does so with the somber authority of a monument, half forgotten, whose language has decayed into ritual. In the desert of contemporary longing, this is a roadside shrine. Let us begin with the form. The sign sits beneath the familiar Burger Slice logo, an icon that in its exaggerated curve gestures less toward sustenance and more toward simulation, an echo of nourishment. The letters, capitalized and sans serif, are brutally legible. They do not invite contemplation so much as they command it. This is visual architecture as decree. It is reminiscent not of pop or postmodern design, but of the uncanny stillness found in the work of forgotten proto-conceptualists, like Henri Michaud's Asemic scrawls, or Giuseppe Pino Galizio's industrial painting machines, gestures caught in loops, gestures emptied of gesture. The plastic paneling, once translucent and now fogged by time and sun, reflects a flattened sky and the spectral shapes of trees. Everything about the sign insists on presence while signaling absence. It names two companies, DoorDash and Uber Eats, but refers to no one in particular. No food items are named, no images are shown. This is a menu without substance, an oracle of logistics. We are not being asked what we want to eat, we are being reminded that we already ordered. Psychologically, this configuration mirrors the language of compulsive reassurance. Much like a recurring intrusive thought, it loops. You have options, but they're the same. You are hungry, but you need not leave your car. You are here, but you are also elsewhere. The sign as presented could easily be mistaken for a text block in a dream. It operates on the same symbolic register as Ionesco's telephone in the chairs, or the baby carriage in Unica Zern's visual poetry, an object intended to do one thing, but now performing something else entirely. Function has collapsed into form. Desire has dissolved into repetition. The phrase DoorDash and Uber Eats also has the cadence of a biblical conjunction. It is not, or it is and. The heat of divine delivery envelops you from both sides. It is a gospel of doubling down, a binarized omnipresence. In another context, this kind of rhetoric would belong to illuminated manuscripts or the slogans of ancient city-states. Here, the fast food sign has absorbed the language of covenant. If one were to see this sign without context, without knowledge of Burger King, DoorDash, Uber Eats, or even fast food, they might assume it marks a border checkpoint. It has the formality of instruction, yet the opacity of art. Like a wall text for a Sophie Podolsky drawing or a misplaced Danvaux sculpture tag, it leaves too much unsaid to be useful and too much said to be ignored. And yet, the sign is not lonely. It is utterly contemporary. It aligns with the psychological realities of the disassociated eater, one who does not chew so much as scroll, one who does not visit so much as await arrival. The visual noise around the sign, traffic, palm trees, hedges, and stone, is not decoration. It is camouflage. The real message is that nothing new is coming. Everything is already en route. This sign is not a menu. It is a timestamp. We might think of it finally not as advertisement, but as epigraph, a brief, grim haiku for the age of food as ghost. Burger King, DoorDash, and Uber Eats. You have already ordered. There are moments in contemporary life when corporate gestures spiral so far beyond utility, beyond taste, beyond even irony, that they emerge as a new category altogether, something like devotional kitsch or psychic excess. The Popeyes pickle menu, in all its cucumbered glory, is one of those moments. At first glance, this drive-thru sign in the springtime sun seems to promise only indulgence. Pickla them all, it chirps, like a Dadaist imperative from the lips of Kurt Schwitters or Raoul Hausmann. But look again, and you'll see it for what it is. An invitation to collapse into the semiotic instability of brine. This is not just a menu, it is a manifesto. In the absurdist tradition of Eugene Ionesco or Daniel Carmes, the pickle menu insists that its logic is its own. A lemonade made of pickles, fried pickles with a side of pickles, chicken coated not in traditional sauce but in pickle glaze. It's a menu that spirals, that folds in on itself, that pickles its own interior logic until all we can taste is the repetition of desire. As in Ionesco's The Chairs, meaning is eroded by the piling on of sameness. More pickles, until only the form of choice remains, and nothing more. Psychologically, this campaign operates on two fronts. On one hand, it speaks to the craving for intensity. Flavor concentration as emotional metaphor. In a time when stimulus must spike just to be felt, the vinegar-sharp bite of a pickle lemonade becomes an act of self-regulation, a bracing, jolting sip in the face of numbness. In psychodynamic terms, this could be seen as effect modulation via ingestion. Brine is temporary ballast against the chaos of overstimulation. But it's also an embrace of the regressive. The pickle, long confined to the margins of a sandwich wrapper, has suddenly become the protagonist. Here is the revenge of the side item, the Cinderella of condiments stepping out from the shadows into full narrative control. The entire menu functions like a Freudian slip of the culinary unconscious, where the subconscious wish for chaos, flavor, novelty, and control all simultaneously manifest in a single green-laced wing. From an art historical standpoint, the aesthetics are suspiciously coherent. The clean lines, bold colors, and hyper-real photography recall the American pop movement, but not Warhol or Lichtenstein. No, this belongs more to the synthetic tableaus of Martha Rosler's Semiotics of the Kitchen or the collaged consumer dystopias of Peter Rohr. The sign is a poster, but also a poem, structured like a triptych: upper glory, middle indulgence, lower sweetness, a kind of fast food enunciation for the contemporary faithful. And yet, despite its slickness, something about the whole display feels off, as though designed not by a human team, but a marketing A. I fed too much tumbler and not enough sleep. There is the desperate cheer of the exclamation mark, the forced pun in Pickle them all, the over-articulated redundancy of the chilled and frozen lemonade. These are not errors, they are tells. Like the stilted language in a dream, they reveal the cracks in the mask. So what is this really about? Why a pickle lemonade? Why now? Because this is not a meal. It is a ritual of reorientation. In a world where everything tastes the same, where novelty lasts 72 hours, the pickle still hurts. It still has bite. It is sour and vivid and unignorable. And so, the Popeye's pickle menu offers you, not just a snack, but a chance to feel again, to know you've consumed something. And when that briny sting hits the back of your throat and makes your eyes water, maybe for a second, just a second, you'll forget your passwords, your unread emails, your ghosted DMs. You'll just be a body, dunking fried pickles into ranch under an indifferent sun. The sign reads, "Shake up your routine," and it doesn't so much suggest as pose, a gentle provocation wrapped in sans serif minimalism. It's not imperative, not quite. Instead, it lingers like a dare at the edge of consciousness, as if the wind itself murmured it into the plastic sidewalk frame. Set against a backdrop of cracked concrete and ornamental weeds, this promotional placard from Starbucks presents an unlikely pair: a frothy, corporate simulacrum of espresso and a pastry pocket oozing with the vague topography of diced poultry and peppers. We are not meant to question the juxtaposition. We are meant to experience it in silence. There is something intrinsically unnerving about this pairing, something that drifts beyond taste into the realm of the performative. The iced brown sugar oat milk, shaken espresso is not just a beverage. It is, in semiotic terms, a cooling agent for the nervous system, a pharmaceutical in caramel drag. Next to it, the jalapeno chicken pocket, a meat-stuffed scroll of uncertainty, presented like a relic on a rustic chopping board, its open wound of filling displayed with clinical pride. To shake up your routine is, of course, a euphemism for micro-disruption. What we're offered is not transcendence, but a frictionless simulation of spontaneity. Psychologically, this is textbook behavioral reinforcement, the illusion of agency via menu diversification. One could reference Victor Tausk's famous psychoanalytic case of the influencing machine, where the subject imagines external forces controlling their desires through a mechanical device. Replace the device with a Starbucks chalkboard sign, and the metaphor holds. The influencing is simply more palatable now, served over ice. The most troubling aspect, however, lies in the pocket. The word itself recalls containment, concealment, withholding. It is not a sandwich. It is not a wrap. It is a pocket, an orifice with narrative potential. In food psychology, pockets are associated with subconscious comfort and repression. The contents are always hidden until they're not, a Freudian conceit wrapped in phyllo dough. You do not eat a pocket, you breach it. Art historically, one could reach toward the lesser-known absurdists for this moment. Consider the culinary theater of Daniel Sperry, whose snare pictures freeze dining scenes as tableaux of residue and entropy. Sperry, like this sign, asks us to find structure in the aftermath of appetite. Or perhaps it's more akin to the Polish conceptualist Natalia L.L., whose eroticized consumption pieces, models slurping cream-laden foods with trance-like repetition, confronted the viewer with the overlap of desire, absurdity, and routine. In this sign, the pocket stares back at us, caught mid-fissure, mid-exposure, and dares us to consume what it conceals. And what is routine, anyway, but a fragile scaffold holding back the chaos of modern life? Starbucks invites you to jostle that scaffold, gently, tastefully, within brand guidelines, but jostle it nonetheless. Buy the iced espresso. Buy the pocket. Let the day fracture, just a little. Let your neural groove slip a degree to the left. It's not rebellion, not revolution, it's just lunch. But even that today feels strangely radical, or at the very least, slightly spicy. Thank you again for watching the podcast and supporting my work. Don't forget to subscribe and share this podcast with someone else you think may enjoy it.